you. I was getting tired of beating the gavel here. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the December 11th meeting. Hopefully, our last meeting of the year, but who knows what happens. Roll call. Everyone is present, including our soon-to-be 2 new board members. Welcome, guys. Our student representatives, Alicia and Jonathan, are present. And if you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand, face the flag, salute, and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Before we go any further, I'll report on the actions out of closed session. On placement of non-public school students, Mr. Now the motion, Mr. Heavenly seconded, and the board approved the placement of 2018-19 non-public school students numbers 71, 72, 73, 74, and 75 by the following vote, 5-0. Under conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, Mr. Now the motion, Mr. Knackstedt seconded, and the board voted to approve claim number 534813 by the following vote, 5-0, and that's all of the actions that were taken in closed session. We're going to begin tonight by a little bit of reorganization for the board.
Mr. Neely.
Sir.
Mr. Neely, I would like to have you join me in the front of the room first.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I want to make sure you're facing that way. So
Okay.
You're the man of the hour. Mr. Neely, you've set a very high standard for the board to follow. And I doubt that there's anybody on this board that has done more research on every single thing that comes before the board than you do. During the past year, some of your accomplishments have been resolving employee contracts. You found a good home for the Jesse Cerna students. We're hopefully going to get those kids out of the basement very soon. We've hired new administrators. Many of them are actually here right now. The most recent display of your leadership, I think, though, was the handling of the health issue from the Butte County fire. You were in constant contact with all of your board members, with employee groups, with admin, and then only after a lot of research, a lot of discussion was the best solution made for the students in Lodi Unified. I do have one concern, Mr. Neely. Recently you have said that soon this will be somebody else's problem. I'm not sure who you were thinking about, but it's my expectation that you will be as active as you have ever been. For one reason is that you're good at it, you like it, and it's important. So with that, I want to give you this little token of our appreciation for all the work you've done as board president for the last year. And as my Star Trek friends would say, I now have the con. As pilots might say, I have the control of the aircraft. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you a lot. Appreciate it. You know, it's been a fantastic year. Last year at this time, I didn't think it was going to be this much work. It's been a lot of work, but it's been a whole lot of fun. I want to thank my colleagues for trusting me with this year. Lodi Unified continues to make progress. And that's what we've got to do. That's what we've always got to do. That's the only way that public education is going to survive. I do have a couple of thank yous. My employee group leaders that I've worked with, thank you guys so much. We worked together well, and I've really enjoyed it. You've been very supportive, and together I think that really helped out this district. All the administrators, my gosh. You know, I'm going to miss all the calls. We spent so much time on the phone. Actually, my wife probably won't miss that so much. It'll be a little bit more free time. So, but anyway, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's a word.
Mr. President,
Sir.
I too would like to thank you for your year of leadership at the helm. There were a lot of firsts, and we don't want you going down as the fire president for Lodi Unified, but you held the first RBED meeting, which is going to be critical, and I think it's going to be copied by districts throughout the nation, at least smart districts that see how valuable it is to us. Also, our LCAT meeting where you had all the employee groups that were seated here and were involved, that was a first. Your passion knows no bounds, as is your work ethic, and what you accomplished is amazing, considering, as we were reminded, you started with a broken back. So to come full circle, I appreciate it, the district appreciates it. Congratulations on a great job. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas. I appreciate that very much. Okay, we're going to move on now with a oath of office for areas 1, 3, 4, and 5. That's Susan Farland, George Neely, Courtney Porter, and Ron Heberly. That's going to be administered. You know what, Dr. Walsh, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, members of the board. I want to thank the Honorable Lauren Thomason, Judge Superior Court of San Joaquin County, and invite her up. She's going to preside over our ceremony. She has helped us out several years in a row, so thank you very much for joining us this evening.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure. Okay, and so if those members could please
Can I get
stand.
everybody in front for the deal?
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name,
I, George Porter,
do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. That I take this obligation freely and without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. That's it.
You know, Judge Thomason, that is the third time that I've taken that from you. I admire how you don't even look down. You just got that memorized. I gotta tell you though, every time I hear that I state your name, I so want to say it. Just like I forget which of the movies it is, but is it Animal House? Yeah. Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. Next, we're going to move on. Oh, and by the way, welcome to the board. Sure. We're going to move along to our election of officers. As we do this, I want to tell you, I've said many times that I get to see a lot of boards in this district through California School Board Association. And I'm always proud of this board and this school district, how we do business. Over the last 8 years, we've had a different president every year. That's not by accident. Nobody owns this board. Used to, we had people that would be president, and it still happens in a lot of boards. You have same person president after time after time after time. We don't do that. It's a 7-member board, and we act that way. So with that, I'm going to open up the nominations for 2019 president with my nomination for our vice president, Mr. Gary Conexton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Saying none, the nominations are closed. And we are going to do a verbal vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Mr. President. I'm looking for a nomination for the 2019 Vice President.
Mr. President,
Sir,
I would like to nominate Mr. Nava.
I'll second that. Any other nominations? Declare these nominations closed. All in favor of Mr. Nava for Vice President, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you, Board.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice President. And finally, we have the 2019 clerk. Any nominations for that?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Nutt.
I move that we nominate Ron Freitas as clerk of the board.
I will second.
We have Mr. Freitas nominated and seconded by Mr. Heberly. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll close the nominations. All in favor of Mr. Freitas for clerk, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Mr. Clerk. Do you know how many papers you have to sign as clerk?
I have a good signature.
All right.
Yes, Ted.
All right. At this time, we are going to take a short recess, and we are going to rearrange the seating. Some of us will sign out of our places and move to other places. So give us 5 minutes, no more. We are in recess for 5 minutes. Yep, close out what you're on. Log out. There we go.
The mom's here, does that mean no dinner?
Yeah. All right, we can do that. Okay. All right, we're ready to start again. Next item on the agenda is our approving the 2019 calendar of meetings. So by now, I'm sure everybody on the board has had a chance to take a look at that. Is there any comments from the board? Concerns about the calendar?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let's bring up the calendar for next year, please. Board calendar. All right, let's take a look. I'd asked earlier that we not schedule meetings during the fall break and the spring break. A couple of reasons for that. Number one is that those meetings tend to be really short anyway, because we don't have a lot of reports there, because some of our staff is gone. So there's no sense in having meetings if the staff isn't here. So I would recommend that we take that March 5th meeting and we move it to the week before, which would be what, February 26th. Now, it's going to be 3 meetings in a row, but I think we'll get more substance out of that. And then also on the October 1st meeting, that one should actually probably move to after October 15th, which would make it October 22nd meeting.
Well, Mr. Neely, I can tell you the February 26th, your new president will not be here. So.
February 26th.
Yeah, that's the Tuesday before, I believe, that you're
Yeah.
talking about. And I've already made plans, it's booked, I'm gone.
Then I would say, well, if we can't do that, we can either make it on the 24th of March, or 26th of March, excuse me.
I could do that.
Okay. Or if not, we can make that at one meeting a month.
I could do that too.
It's a month with only 2 weeks of school in it, so why not just have one board meeting?
That sounds like an excellent idea to me. Can I have a motion? Is there any other discussion?
Okay?
Public?
Could, for clarification, could you go to the podium, please?
Not used to seeing you on that side.
My phone was charged. Good evening, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. I think what I just heard was March 5th, change that meeting date because it's during the break.
Right.
I don't think that's during the break.
I'm sorry, you are correct. March break is 11th through 22.
Okay, so 19th then.
So, okay. So maybe we could do the
Make
discussion.
the motion. And then we can discuss it. Is that okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So,
Thank you, Michelle.
given the superintendent's reaction, I'm going to say that the March 19th meeting be canceled. And we can schedule another special meeting if we need it. And we would do the same thing with the October 1st meeting.
Great idea.
Let's see, October 1st.
Are we on a break on October 1st?
September 30th through October 11th.
Okay, yeah. Yes, very good.
So that's my
Do you have a
motion.
motion? Do we have a second?
I second that, Mr. President.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there any discussion then? Okay, call for the vote.
I have a question.
Okay.
Just to make sure that I'm with it, okay?
Yeah.
March, one meeting, that's March 20, March 19th. And October, one meeting, October 15th.
I'm sorry, the March meeting that
October.
will be eliminated is the
Yes.
19th.
Yes.
That's during break.
Okay, so we just stay with March 5th.
Correct.
All right, okay, one meeting and it's March 5th. And on October, it's October 15th only, one meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Away with the first. That's my motion.
Okay, I got it, I second it, but I want to make sure that it's correct.
We may want to add, if there is pressing business, that we could call a special meeting. But our calendar would eliminate those meetings because they're during breaks and personnel are not here to really help us very much anyway. Okay. By the way, we have a glitch with our computer system, so all votes tonight will be roll call votes. Okay, so we'll go start down the end there.
Aye.
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 Motion passes 7-0. All right. Okay, nice job, Mr. Ewan. Okay, next piece of business is our committee appointments. These are, in fact, voluntary appointments. I can go through the ones that we are currently on. If you would like to be on that, speak up so we don't have to twist your arm. Okay, on the Board Audit Review Committee, currently serving is Mr. Hebley and myself. And we did have Dr. Tolkien. Is there anybody who would like to do that?
Mr. President,
Yes,
I
sir.
would volunteer to take Mr. Kaufman's spot.
Okay. Okay. On the City of Lodi 2x2 Committee, currently serving is Mr. Hebley and Mr. Neely.
I'd like to stay. Me too.
They both indicated they would stay. Thank you. The City of Stockton 2x2 Committee, currently serving is Mr. Nava and myself. I'll be glad to stay on it.
I'll let stay on it.
Okay, no changes there. If anybody would like to join these committees, I believe it says 2 people, but I believe we can take more. Is that correct or not? Sorry,
You can take up to 3.
up to 3, even though it says, okay. Okay, San Joaquin County 2x2 Committee, currently is Mr. Freitas and Mr. Neely.
Mr. President, I'd like to remain on that committee.
Okay,
Mr. President, I'll remain on the committee unless one of our 2 new board members would like a spot there.
I'm planning on putting them where Ms. Castle.
I'll stay there.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure working with Mr. Freitas.
Okay, and for the City of Stockton Parks and Rec, currently serving is Mr. Nava.
I'd like to remain, sir.
Okay. Okay, Energy Conservation Committee, currently serving is Ms. Castle, Mr. Freitas, and Dr. Tolkien. I'm looking for some new board members maybe want to be involved with that, since we had Ms. Castle and Dr. Tolkien on it before. Would you? Okay, thank you. So that's Mr. Freitas and Ms. Castle.
Make fun for him.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm reading. Yeah. Okay, Joe Center Charter School, in this case it was.
You need one more.
We have room for 3. With, Mr. Porter, would you like to be on the Energy Conservation Committee?
Do I have a choice?
Sure, you always have a choice. Say yes or
I'll be glad to be.
Okay. Okay. Okay, and the Joe Cerna was served by Ms. Castle in the past, so I'm hoping that probably, okay, good. Okay, Legislative Advocacy Committee, Mr. Freitas, Mr. Hebley, and Mr. Neely were on that.
Yes, sir, I'd love to remain on that.
Yes, and
Yes.
yes. Okay. The San Joaquin County School Boards Association. Mr. Nava, you have been on that for 3 years. Would you like to continue that or no?
No, I'm going to pass, Mr. Neely has indicated that he's interested in that position, so I would like to relinquish that if he's.
Is that fact?
I would love to do that.
Good job. Okay, so Mr. Neely is on that committee. Is there anything that I missed? Good.
Just a comment. Like Dr. Washer said, if there are two positions and there's someone interested in an additional position, being on that
Yeah.
committee, then that would be fine.
Yes, we can take more than what is on listed here, right?
Just not four.
Correct.
I would like to be on the audit committee if that's possible.
Okay.
There are 3 people.
Is that not okay to have 4?
Correct. Now, up to, yeah, 3.
Oh, you can't have more than that.
That's a quorum.
Well, since I'm already going to be on 3 committees, one of them is probably my place on the audit.
Unless you.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Freitas? Okay, we good? Okay, next order business is the California School Boards Association nomination. Nomination as a delegate to the Assembly. Currently serving on that position is Mr. Neely. Do we have a nomination?
Continue along with that?
Is-
Need a nomination.
I think we do need a nomination.
I nominate Mr. Neely.
I'll second it then. Okay. We have to have a roll call vote. So, starting with Mr. Neely.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Mr. President, we can have multiple.
Correct.
Candidates,
Mr.
yeah.
Heavily, members of the board, this is nominations to be on the ballot. So there's
Okay.
another step to this that would require another vote. So these are folks that you would like to run.
Okay.
I would like to run.
Okay. Go ahead.
I make a motion
There you go.
that Mr. Porter also put his candidacy in for the CSBA delegate assembly. Not second that.
Is there any other people that would like to be chosen as a candidate? Okay. Then, it moved and seconded. We'll have the voice vote again. Mr. Neely?
Aye.
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 Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
You can vote for yourself.
You can vote for yourself, Mr. Porter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so motion passes, 7-0. All right. Okay, we are ready for a public hearing to consider the provisions of a charter pursuant to subsection B of section 47605 of the Education Code. The Board of Education shall consider the level of support for the charter petition presented by Vector 21 Charter Development Incorporated for the Quantum Charter Collegiate Academy from teachers employed by the district, other employees of the district, and parents. Dr. Washer.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. The district is in receipt of a charter petition from Vector 21 Charter Development, Inc. This is the opportunity for the public to give comment to the board on this item. I'm going to first invite the petitioners if they would like to speak to the board before you open it up to the public.
I'm sorry, I have a question on the item itself. It says, "The Board of Education shall consider the level of support." How is that accomplished?
We have legal counsel, Mr. Paul Gant.
So that is the purpose of the public hearing, is to first receive the report from the petitioners, and then you have open public comment. So anyone, any member of the public who wishes to speak and express either support or lack of support for the petition for the charter is welcome to express their point of view.
So we don't take any action on anything, we just, it's kind of like an arbitrary decision by each individual board member, the level of support?
It's a hearing in order to receive the level of support, and then following that, there is staff work that is done to analyze and then ultimately provide a subsequent report to the board, and action on the charter petition would be taken at a subsequent meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Gann.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Dr. Washer and LUSD board members. My name is Patrick McGrath, and I'm the CEO of Vector 21 Charter Development. The Vector 21 team and I sincerely thank you for having us here tonight. I'd like to just do a brief overview of our project. We are projected to open Quantum Charter Collegiate Academy, or QCCA, in September of 2020. We will open with grade 9 and add a grade each following year. So we will have grades 9 through 12 by 2023. QCCA students will take honors and advanced placement classes, with most students graduating with 2 years of college credits. This provides a significant savings in books, tuition, and time. We will have a STEAM-based curriculum in addition to science, technology, engineering, and math. QCCA will have a world-class vocal and performing arts hall to complete a well-rounded curriculum. QCCA will also offer sports and a fully digital campus. Some of the benefits of a partnership between LUSD and QCCA would be LUSD would incur no building costs. Also, LUSD incurs no operational costs. LUSD receives oversight funds from QCCA, and ultimately, LUSD will receive students from neighboring school districts. So now I'd like to bring up a few people to speak on our behalf. First, I'd like to have Jesus Andrade. Jesus is the District 6 member of Stockton City Council and the CEO of San Joaquin County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening. Good evening, Board President Connexted. I hope I got that right. And I had President Neely here, but I saw the change, so now I just want to say congratulations. What's that?
He's down on the end now.
I saw. So I just want to say good evening to the president and to the board and Dr. Washer. Once again, my name is Jesus Andrade, and I am here representing the San Joaquin County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce as the CEO, and I'm here obviously in support of Vector 21. I support their proposal to launch a high-quality charter school within the city of Stockton. I think they're a great organization filled with great visionaries. I've gotten to know them over the course of the last several months. In speaking with them, truly believe they care deeply about the economic, cultural, and social future of this region, not just the city of Stockton. But more importantly, speaking with them and spending time with them, I really do believe they care deeply about the future of our children. Which in this case could be Lodi and Stockton, depends on where exactly they locate, but it's within the district. And I'm here because I believe in their mission. I was reading their mission, and one of the things that really stuck out to me, not the whole thing, but one sentence was, their mission is to positively and permanently change the lives of young men and women. And so when I put on my hat as a council member, that's also a very important thing, because not only are we educating kids academically, but we're also trying to instill within them a sense of character, integrity, and all the things that make for a good citizen and a good resident. And so when I read that statement, I'm like, I truly believe what they're doing, because these young men and women that go through their system will one day, raise a family, start a business, take on some of the jobs that are here. And more important, as a council member, they'll have impact in the greater community when they're out there in the real world. And so for me, education is important, which is why I'm also here. I co-founded a policy organization around education in the city of Stockton that is looking at all the school district data. And I co-founded this organization with the mayor of Stockton, Mayor Tubbs. We both had the shared vision of building a world-class education system within the city of Stockton, but also within the that'll have an impact across the region, and I believe that Vector 21 will be a major player in doing that. And for us, a world-class education system is producing young men and women that will be ready to go to college, or if they choose, go to work. And I know that's a big thing that we have to look into as well moving forward. It's not just college, but how do we prepare our kids to take on the jobs of not today, but of tomorrow, the jobs of the 21st century. And so for us, that's a world-class education system. And again, I think Vector 21 plays a role in that. And for that matter, I think Lodi Unified also plays a role in that. I was looking at some of the statistics, and you guys have about 15,000 kids that live within the city of Stockton. It makes you guys the second largest school district in the city. And you guys, even though you guys are Lodi Unified, but I believe, we all have a role to play, and I'm here to not only show my support for Vector 21, but to also make myself available to the board and to staff here moving forward and introduce myself, because this is a goal that we have. It's an ambitious goal, and again, I support Vector 21 and their role that they're going to play, but I'm also here, like I said, to extend, make myself available to the board and to the administration here as we build this world-class education system. So with that, I want to say thank you for your time, and God bless, and I will turn it over to Patrick.
Thank you, Jesus. Next speaker we're going to have come up is Dr. Bruce Southard. He's the director of chorale activities at San Joaquin Delta College and has more than 20 years of experience working with choirs of all ages.
That number is actually a lot higher now. That's an old bio. Well, good evening, and Dr. Washer, Lodi Unified Board of Education, I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak on arts education. My name is Bruce Southard. I'm from here in Lodi, California. Currently, I serve as the Director of Choral and Vocal Activities at San Joaquin Delta College and as the Artistic Director of the Stockton Chorale. Prior to my return to California, I taught at Dickinson State University in North Dakota, and I have also taught elementary music education and at the high school level. However, my musical successes didn't begin when I went to college. My musical successes began right here in California, first in Cloverdale Unified, and then here in Lodi Unified School District. I'm here at the request of Max Simonchik, who has been a prominent figure in the arts, particularly music, here in our community for as long as I can remember. And I've been here a long time. He served on the faculties of San Joaquin Delta College and the University of the Pacific, as well as other levels of music education in the area. This evening, my comments will reflect my experience and research specifically related to music education, because that's the art that I know best. Music education has been an integral part of instruction since ancient Greece and Rome. As part of the quadrivium, it stood equal footing with arithmetic, geometry, and astronomy. Music is an intersection of both science and art, of logic, expression, the ability to sing and speak, even at the most basic level, is physics in action. Pitch and rhythm both reflect mathematical principles. When performing music, our students continuously are problem solving, moment by moment in real time. As they routinely practice, they learn to overcome obstacles and challenges that face them in small ways and big ways, and they learn that nothing of lasting value happens overnight. As they perform in ensemble, they participate in community. Music releases creativity, it teaches courage, it facilitates camaraderie, and it can enhance cognition in both children and adults. 90% in our field is not an A. We direct our students towards total mastery. 90% actually is kind of stinky when you listen to it. We have to strive for as perfect as possible. Studies have shown that children with consistent music instruction, in particular that of Zoltan Kodály and Karl Orff, score higher on standardized tests and perform better academically than students who do not have access to music instruction. Now, that doesn't mean those are the only methodologies that produce great academics in music students. It means those are the ones that I know the studies on myself. Music can also help memory. Several studies have indicated that musicians tend to have a more developed working memory than non-musicians because music moves our brain to pay attention. not only to what's happening on the page, but in ensemble we learn to pay attention to everything that is going on around us. We learn to work together in a nonverbal atmosphere. We learn to work together just by knowing what's happening in the score at that moment in time. So we're developing creativity, we're helping students focus, we're helping them concentrate, we're helping students learn to live in community and work in community side by side, and learn those citizenship skills that are so important for them. One of the things I teach my students is the principle of listening louder than they sing, which is a very good life skill. Music can also help bridge our cultural and gender gaps, because there is no one who possesses any skill better than the other if they're willing to work for it. We can work hard to become great musicians. When I was a student in Lodi Unified, we had vibrant arts programs that started us young, in particular in music. And just from the high school class, Lodi High School class of 1984, who were involved in the music program, many of us either make our living in music today, and we have for the last 30 plus years, or we enjoy music as a hobby still. Many of us gather together, we still get together and make music and share this lifelong camaraderie that started in the public school system here in Lodi, California. I believe there's great opportunity for a school that is going to integrate science and arts in a very focused way, because they intersect. I believe that there is a ton of potential in that type of integrative approach to education. The little I do know about the Vector community, it sounds like they are on the right track with this particular charter school, and I'm very pleased to know that this is happening in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next up is Nick Driver. He's the Vice President of Strategic Development of Charter School Management Corporation.
Good evening, Mr. Knackstead,
Yes.
board members, Dr. Washer. My name is Nick Driver. I'm really proud to be here in partnership with the Vector 21 team. I'll say a little bit about why I am, and also a little bit about what we do and our small role in this charter petition development and the charter itself, and then ask for your support for this when it comes around next month. So I've been working in this arena for about 15 years. I have been sort of incubating or helping to start hundreds of schools since I started in 2003. And my company's been around for a little bit longer, 17 years. It was started by people who had their own kids in schools and wanted to start something slightly different than what the good choices that they had in their district. As the previous speaker said, there's nothing that when you're starting a charter school doesn't mean that the district options are bad. They just may not have the agility to have a new option, and that's what I believe. And that's what really attracted our team to the Vector 21 team and Quantum Charter Collegiate Academy is the fact that they were doing something that is both proven with early college high school and also different. And it doesn't take away from anything that the LUSD is doing, but it's slightly different. And early college high school is a proven and research-based practice. The three things that were attractive to us about this charter group and this charter petition were the research basis that the previous speaker, Mr. Southard, spoke so eloquently to, the petition itself, which is we believe goes above and beyond the standard that's required, and the leadership team that includes lots of experience doing early college high schools in the Lodi area, as well as just general experience in the education industry. So our small role at CSMC is to do the finances and operations of charter schools. We serve 238 charter schools and have served many more over the years. So I think when you and your staff are reviewing it, I hope you will find what a sound budget, a budget that comes in the black and has a building reserve over the course of the 5 years of the first term of the charter. I would be happy to answer any questions if there are any at the public hearing, and certainly staff questions afterwards after they start doing their research. But we believe that this model of taking 275 students in year 1, growing up to 1,050 students in year 5, and providing for them a facility that is separate and not asking LUSD for a facility is both a viable one, a smart one, and a collaborative one. And so I would just close by, as I said earlier, asking for your support when, after staff has done its research, asks us all the hard questions, and we answer them hopefully adequately, and you come back here again in January. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Next up is Sehi Park. She's an attorney with Young, Minnie, and Core who specialize in charter law.
Good evening, Board President Knexted, Dr. Washer, and members of the board. My name is Sehi Park, and I'm an attorney with the law offices of Young, Minnie, and Core. Glad to be here in support of Vector 21 and the Quantum Charter Collegiate Academy's establishment charter petition. Our law firm has had the opportunity to thoroughly review this petition and believe that the petition clearly meets all applicable legal requirements. Pursuant to the Education Code, the governing board of a school district shall not deny a petition for the establishment of a charter school unless it makes written factual findings specific to the particular petition that sets forth specific facts to support one or more of only 5 particular findings for denial, none of which we believe would apply to the Quantum Charter Collegiate Academy's petition. Rather, as detailed in the petition, the charter school presents a sound educational program for the students to be enrolled. The petitioners, with their experience and expertise, are demonstrably likely to successfully implement this program set forth in their petition, and the charter petition contains a reasonably comprehensive description of all of the legally required elements. In reviewing establishment charter petition, the Charter Schools Act clearly instructs chartering authorities to be guided by the intent of the legislature that charter schools are and should become an integral part of the California educational system, and that the establishment of charter schools should be encouraged. Thus, I ask and thank in advance for your careful consideration of this petition, and ask that you would follow the intent of the legislature and ultimately approve this establishment petition. I'm also available to answer any questions tonight or throughout the review process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sehi. And last but not least, Sean Green, and he is the director and principal of Quantum Charter Collegiate Academy.
Good evening, Dr. Washer, Lodi Unified School District board members, guests. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight. We look forward to other opportunities to talk to you in the next coming weeks. I'd also like to acknowledge those of you who came to support us tonight. Would you mind standing, those of you who came tonight? Thank you so much. Please be seated. There were others, but as you know, it's that time of the year, and some people found that difficult. My name is Sean Green, and I was hired to become the principal of QCCA. In my experience, I've been fortunate to work with many outstanding educators and students. Tonight, Mr. Darren Tracy is here, and he signed part of the meaningful interest. And I wanted to point him out. We are like-minded. We share a passion for excellence in education. Darren, would you just raise your hand? Just give a shout out to Darren. If you got to know him, you would know he's one of those freak teachers that you want about 10 of them in your school. As I look back on my 37 years in education, I can say that I'm truly excited to be part of this unique and special team. We're like-minded and focused on excellence, and we look forward to a mutually beneficial partnership with you. Thank you again for having us here tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, okay, thank you. Any comments from the board? Okay. Any comments from the public? Ms. Organ?
Good morning. Good morning. Oh my gosh. Time's a blur. With this charter coming to us, and I appreciate the speakers before us, there are some things that I would like to point out to our audience and the members, our teaching staff, and our public. Many of these vision and goal statements are vision and goal statements that this board has worked on the past few years. When we talk about accelerated academics, we have a program that is connected to a college experience. Our middle college program is highly sought after and highly valuable. We have that within our district, and we have students that vie to get into that program. So we do have that within Lodi Unified. If it's some part of looking at why a charter, why now, what's different that they bring to our students in our area. But those statements are the same as this board's and are the same of what our teachers and staff have been working for. When we talk about safety, we have listened, reflected, and spent a great deal of time on making sure that our campuses are as safe as possible. We have come back to what has been put into place and changed those safety measures. And I think that's a reflective practice that we continue to do. Just as we looked at air quality, having secure campuses and using technology as a model is key. They mentioned low overhead and going a digital format. Well, we've invested in one-to-one devices. We have piloted take-home devices this year. We have looked at digital programs for students, but we've also had conversations about the importance of also having textbooks for students. So if you're cutting out one completely, then you don't have that resource to meet the needs of other students. And sorry, my glasses. The professor that spoke up from Delta College, highly respect his passion and intent of the connection of music in education and academics. This board has recognized that. And just in this last month, we've had several art programs come and perform here in this building, but also out in our community. And some highly sought after programs, and we know how effective they are. We've also spent a great deal of time of looking at STEM and certifying teachers within our district to be STEM and STEAM certified going forward. We know that they say in charter schools, a new opportunity or they'll raise scores. Well, when we compare at these board meetings those test scores, and then we look at the subgroups, not all those subgroups are represented as this board addresses all those subgroups within our district. When we look at special ed and meeting the needs of every student, when we look at transportation and making sure that a kid without a certain range needs to be transported or special education needs to be transported there, we get that done. Now, our special programs, such as GATE and Middle College, where they have to find their own transportation, we know that from this charter, we are looking at just those students on an accelerated path. Just those students. So are we not addressing all of the students, all of the subgroups that we have in our district within the bounds of both Lodi and Stockton? So there are many questions, and at this time, we don't see going forward with this. We know that that's a bit premature at this point in time. We have many more questions on how is this different than some of what it is we're already doing and the direction that the ship is moving, the differences in our LCAP, all of those funds being re-looked at and changed towards other programs and enhancing science, arts, We're currently doing that, and we do see the power in that as teachers, and you've recognized that. So as we look at their vision, we see some similarities to our vision. And our question is, how is that better to take just a certain subgroup on an accelerated path? Now, because the document was so large, many of us were unable to even examine the document from the last board meeting. And we do appreciate staff getting it out to us via another format because our district server could not download it. So I don't know how many others were not able to read all 400 pages within the time limit. So we have some questions, and we would like more time to digest what's here and see really the value. Where's the value for our students that we serve? Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Any other comments?
Thank you, Mr. Knackstedt, President, and the rest of the board. My name is John Hunt, LPPA President and Counselor at Tokay High School. I got to tell you, I don't know a lot about charter schools. I tried to open the document. I did read the first few pages, and things are unnerving, as obviously charter schools must know that it is a little different. The word revolution doesn't inspire hope in my heart when I see that on the front page. And the 400 pages, getting through it. I do like a lot of the language that's used. I hear a lot of us saying that. I heard the choir teacher from Lodi High, the early 80s. I'm a Tokay grad myself from 79. I gotta tell you, I'm a jealous counselor. When I get a quality kid that wants to go anywhere, I'm like, figuring any way I can to keep them. As a coach, I was like that. It's no fun to have a team with no horses. I mean, you've got to have students. So when I hear someone say it doesn't take anything away from LUSD, I can see it's going to be a draw, Stockton and Lodi. Maybe there's enough quality, I'm sure when I say quality, every kid's quality. I mean, I don't like, losing anybody from a site. But I just, doing the numbers, in 2025 or whatever, having, close to 1,000 kids, if you think about it, that's almost 1 in 10 LUSD, or maybe not just LUSD because it goes from Stockton, but even 1 in 20 students from Tokay who could have been in our choir and our band. So yeah, I'm kind of short-sighted in that sense, and maybe if I talk to some charter schools people, they would change my mind. But I just, in reading it, I know, I'm up here not because of my personal opinions. I had some LPPA members that were concerned about the conversation of a charter school. So, admittedly, I am very uneducated on this area. And, and I'm sure maybe there's enough room for everybody. But even something simple as a middle college, I'm not a big middle college fan because some of those kids could be at my school, lighting it up over at Tokay, doing some great things. And so anytime anybody goes anywhere. But again, that's just me. That's a personal opinion. But thank you for listening.
Thanks, Mr. Hunt. Yep. Any other comments? All right. With that, we'll close this hearing. And I'm also, since I saw about half this room stand up for this particular issue, if that half the room would like to leave as we move on with our meeting, then we'll take about 2 minutes to let you do that, and then we'll move on. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay also. So thank you for coming.
I'm doing really well. And then red around.
Yeah, we'll give a light break. No, I was gonna say, I think that most of us, like I was a late bloomer, and some people probably, in some ways, people probably think I'm bloomed, and in other ways I'm still gotta support it.
We'll continue on, please.
Oh, is that
Okay, next public hearing, we're going to open up. It's the Lodi Unified School District contract reopeners with Lodi Unified Supervisor Group, that are known as the LUSG, for the 2018-19 year. Mr. McKilligan.
This is a public hearing.
Okay, any comments from the board then? No. Comments from the public? Okay. I did. Okay, okay. Not hearing any comments, we're going to close that public hearing then. Dr. Washer, you have superintendent's report?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'm going to invite Mr. Jeff Palmquist to the podium to share some exciting programs with you.
Good evening, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. We're very excited to bring a program that we're pursuing as a potential partnership. Dr. Washer got some correspondence from the organization Girls Who Code, and I had the opportunity to meet with Nancy Ma, who is a program coordinator, and it was just a fantastic meeting. If you're not familiar with the organization, we're going to be bringing more to you, but I want to let you know that this is a nationwide nonprofit organization that provides for the most part, after-school clubs. Their vision would be for really all of our students, 3rd grade through 12th grade. They have a 3 through 5 program and then a 6 through 12 program. What they do, in addition to their vision and mission, is to change the world through computer science, and in particular, closing the gender gap in technology. They provide a number of resources, curriculum and training, logistics and support, and then a community that they develop these after-school leaders to help our girls become expert coders. They do this for one of the most cost-effective models I've ever seen. For the whopping price of free, they will provide all of these services to us. They have funding that's outside, and they have 90,000 young women that they currently work with. So we are incredibly excited to see where this goes. We're going to do some follow-up meetings. We're going to get information to our stakeholders to develop this. But it was something that we thought really complemented the board's vision for integrating STEM into every aspect of what we do. And this organization is a great partner to help us do that. And it may even generate some revenue because they even offer some monies to certain school sites that qualify to potentially provide field trips, bring in guest speakers. So we're very excited about it, and we look forward to telling you more. I had left some information with Dr. Washer as well, so that you'll be able to review some of their promotional material. Thank you very much.
How much did you say it costs us?
It costs free.
Free.
And maybe even bring some money in. They would like us to consider being a district partner, which is pretty low risk on our part, but could provide some extra benefits to the district as well. So we look forward to telling you more. Good job, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palmquist. We would like to welcome our 2 new board members. Congratulations again. It's really nice to have you with us. Congratulations to our new board president. Look forward to working with you. And Mr. Neely, I'm going to miss those phone calls too. I'll give you one every once in a while, just so you can feel like you're in the loop.
Good, thank you. Okay, all right, it's time for comments from the public. We have a 20-minute time period that has been set aside for the public to address the board on items that are not listed on the agenda. Each public speaker shall limit his or her comments to 3 minutes, but is welcome to distribute any materials to the board and/or staff. Due to the restrictions imposed by the California Brown Act regarding discussing topics that are not on the agenda, board members are not engaged in dialogue about the issue. I have a card. Lori, please.
Good evening, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer.
My name is Lori Celez. I'm a third grade teacher at Ansel Adams Elementary, and tonight I'm here to address, again, National Board Certification, and currently I'm facilitating a Lodi cohort, which is very exciting. We have partnered with Stanford University, and we have 4 candidates that are actually going through the National Board process right now. And National Board Certification is a voluntary advanced professional certification for pre-K teachers. There's 25 certification areas. It identifies teaching expertise and excellence through performance-based and a peer-reviewed assessment. So we have 4 teachers. Actually, to speak to the type of teachers that go through this process, all 4 of them are here tonight. 2 of them actually submitted one of the 4 components that's required to complete the process, and they scored very well, and so they're on their way to finish their the next 3. So we also are...
Lori, could you have those teachers stand up?
Yes, could you, the 4 of you stand, please? So... This is a really intense process, and this week happens to be National Board Certified Teacher Week, and they've... should I introduce them?
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you guys stand again? I should say your name. So we have Melissa Shepard, and she's doing early childhood generalist. She's a first grade teacher. Colleen Weedy is a kindergarten teacher, and she's doing a certification in literacy. Amy Ramsauer is a kindergarten teacher doing a certification as an early childhood generalist. And Jen Castle is 11th and 12th. She's a 11th and 12th English teacher at Tokay High School, and her certification is in, help me out, early
Literacy.
It's
literacy.
Yeah, it's secondary English literacy. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. So teachers that have gone through the board certification say it's the most valuable, transformative professional development they've ever received. And it's an opportunity to connect their professional learning with their classroom practice. It's kind of a deep dive into their actual practice. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have any more cards. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? All right. Moving on. Any comments from board members? None? Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Nava.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank George for the year of presidency that he had. Great leadership, and a lot of things got done, and I was very comfortable as a clerk sitting right next to him, because either you razz me or I'll razz him, but we have a good time doing that. I also would like to welcome Susan McFarland. Thank you, Susan, for running for the board and getting it. And I want to thank Courtney Porter. We have a guy that's been in the trenches for a long time. We have a lot of things in common because we are former coaches now. You're not going to coach anymore, but you still welcome the leadership that he has in those respects with youth and adults also. I also want to mention that we're going to dedicate the Tokay Field this Friday, and it's at 5 o'clock ribbon cutting. There's a soccer game right directly after that. Thank you.
Okay, hi. Any other comments? Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Neely.
All right, real quickly, Courtney, Susan, welcome to the board again. It's great to have you guys here. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. You're going to have a good time. I want to mention charter schools. And I'm not talking specifically about the charter school that we heard from tonight, just charter schools in general. Something that I've been looking at for some time. It started with CSBA and their charter school task force. And I've had conversations at the last meeting with several different people on this. And I want people to understand in general what happens when you get a charter school. Let's say that you lose 100 students to a charter school. Let's say one starts up in Lincoln someplace, all right? And 100 of our students from North Stockton go over there. If that happens, we lose about $1.2 million in revenue. Now, when you lose 100 students out of 30,000, you have no appreciable decline in expenses. We have fixed expenses. You know, losing 100 students, there's no way that we're going to be able to make that up by cuts, except the programs. We're going to have the same number of people, we're going to have the same number of everything. So something's got to give. When people tell you that there is no impact on you, that's not correct. That's looking at it very, very short-sighted. In talking to my colleagues at CSBA, I brought up the concept of, you know what, the only way to beat a charter school is to make them unnecessary. You make them unnecessary by providing innovative programs for your kids. We've been working towards that for a long time. Lodi's put in, you guys. I mean, Arvet's here tonight, my God. You know what? You guys have put in so much work. But it's tough to move quickly when you're so big. We've had this problem in the past. We've come up with a new idea and a good idea, and we talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And things just keep piling up because we're still talking about things that we should have probably started already. So why am I talking about this now? On the next agenda, I would like to see a topic. We can put it as reports, we can put it as board discussion, I don't care. I want to see this board form a subcommittee, kind of about charters, but more about innovation. Now, I've been doing quite a bit of research on this. There is a group called the League of Innovative Schools. Check them out. Look on the website, check them out. It's amazing some of the things that schools are doing. But if we don't move fast, then you'll have a charter move in and start that. The idea is we've got to be more flexible. One of the things I saw was a K-6 school with a computer immersion. We actually had fourth graders writing JavaScript, which is the most difficult script there is to write. But they had fourth graders doing it. And they even had, I love this, they call it a dual immersion program, computer and regular school. But then they threw in a couple of schools that had a Spanish immersion too, so they called it a triple immersion. So these are some of the innovations that we can do, but we got to do it. It's like, I'm sorry, but it's like the take home on the computers. We could have done that this year. We could have. But we wanted to wait another year. And now, as I said, I wasn't talking about this charter here, but we do have a charter that's moving in and wants to do that. We should have already been doing it. So we need to get, not just innovative, but a little more push behind it. You know, I love this about Lodi. We want to get everything right. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to get out there and try. And if you fail, we fix it. You know, you don't make progress without having some failures. Those things happen. So if we could get that on the agenda, I'll help you develop some material for it, and then the board can discuss what we want to do with it from there. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Any other comments? Mr. Eberly.
Thank you. First, I'd like to offer my congratulations and welcome to Susan McFarland and Courtney Porter. Welcome to the board. Also, seeing as how this is the last meeting of the year and 'tis the season, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And also, there are many other celebrations, obviously, this time of year, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and so forth. So I want to offer you also a merry season. So, happy holidays. It's really a busy time of year. It's an exciting time of year. Last meeting, we received a list of all the concerts that are going to be going on through the schools and so forth. And those really, I guess, get you in the spirit of things. It's just really nice to see the kids. Music is real near and dear to my heart because I was involved in that in high school and elementary school also, myself. Yes, they did have instruments way back then. Yeah, they were rocks.
Sticks and rocks.
Hollowed out rocks, yeah. So also, I'd like to wish everyone a happy, healthy, and safe new year, and we will see you next year. This is our time, so I usually would say that for the end of the meeting, but this is our time, and I want to make sure to extend my well wishes for everyone. Thank you.
Any comments?
Thank you. I would join my colleagues in welcoming Ms. McFarland, Mr. Porter to there. I look forward to working with you and sitting by you in the future meetings and getting your valuable input on the many issues that we decide. I'd also like to join my colleagues in wishing everyone a very happy holiday and a great new year since this is our last meeting. But I also want to point out, if last Thursday you were in a school parking lot and were stopped by a train, that means that it was the Polar Express at Larson Elementary. And the 4 kindergarten classes, 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, transformed their classrooms and the entire school into a winter wonderland, and it was absolutely spectacular. I'd like to thank all the teachers, parents, students, and staff that made it possible. And I think Mr. Neely was there. He was slowed down by the train also, and we will have photographs at one point. But and not only was this done, was the decorating just amazing, but it was just coordinated throughout the entire days. There were events such as hot chocolate marshmallow math and snowflake snowballs, spelling snowballs, and yes, I actually got hit by one of the snowballs. But this was part of the Ron Clark Academy of the Transformation. I know the County Office of Education was looking at this and how well it is, and I got to tell you, it was very, very spectacular, very impressive. So congratulations, and everyone, happy holidays.
Anybody else? Okay, well, I too have a comment I wanted to make. On Saturday, I attended what's affectionately called the Womble Rumble. It's a 5 and 10K race held at Lodi Lake, and it's in Coach Don Womble's name. Don was a teacher and a coach in Lodi Unified, and I think the last 30 or 40 years he was at Lodi High School. And in addition to that, he was also my friend and mentor. It was really cool to see old colleagues that I had in the past, friends, athletes. But what was really kind of nice is that a lot of those, what I call kids, are now teaching in our district. And so it's good to see people that we've worked with and help raise come back and be active in our district. There's a lot of elementary kids there. I saw a lot of Jesse Cerner shirts, little kids in Jesse Cerner shirts running. Lodi is just a great community to be a part of, and I'm really happy our district is associated with this group. Okay, any other comments? All right, then we'll move it on. I've been asked if it'd be all right if we could move a report item up to this point. It's at the end of our agenda. It's on the Review Board for Excellence in Teaching, our RBET committee. We have a lot of teachers and staff that need to go to work again tomorrow. If there's no objection, we'd like to move that up to this point. Okay, let's rock and roll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I'd like to ask the RBET to come forward with those who are going to present. As you recall, we had a study session with the RBET not too long ago, and they shared their progress up until that point with the board. They have been working fast and furious since that time to refine their recommendations based on the MOU that was established and agreed upon between the district and LEA. And they would like to present their recommendations to you based on the tasks that they were given as a result of that MOU. And I want to thank our BET committee for all of their hard work and efforts. You will, again, I think, be impressed with the work that they are going to present, and I will turn it over to the committee.
Good evening, Dr. Washer, new president, Mr. Knackstedt, and the board. Before we actually begin our presentation, if we could, I would like for all of the RBET committee members to stand and be recognized. There are a few of us up here who are presenting this evening, but really it's a culmination of work of the entire group. So if they could all stand. It's truly a group of caring, committed, and solution-oriented individuals all coming together. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was recognized.
Thank you, Randy. I'm David Hurley, 6th grade teacher at Ansel Adams Elementary, co-chair of the 2018-19 Review Board for Excellence Committee with Mr. Melandro, and it's my pleasure to introduce the work of the committee. The RBET committee is composed of 8 administrative staff along with 8 certificated teaching staff, equally divided between elementary and secondary educators. For the past 12 months, we have met as a committee on a regular basis to address the tasks of the Memorandum of Understanding developed between the Lodi Unified School District and the Lodi Education Association. Our presentation this evening is a culmination of our efforts, specifically the development of an individual professional development plan and a process for evaluation. If we take a look at the slide that represents our work, you can see that everything that we do begins and ends with student achievement. And there is no more important factor in student achievement than the skill, passion, and professionalism of the classroom teacher. However, an articulated district-wide system is essential to recruiting, developing, and retaining high-quality teachers. Every student in our district, regardless of the zip code that they reside in, deserves an excellent teacher. Without an articulated system approach, excellence will be present only in isolated classrooms at isolated schools. Teachers improve their craft by the presence of 4 factors: the development of meaning, personal, and professional goals, participating in high-quality professional development, timely and honest feedback from administrative staff, and self-reflection on the effectiveness of instruction and classroom practices. The presentation that you're going to hear this evening is the beginning of a systemic change regarding professional development and evaluation within our district. The mere fact that a committee of administrators and teachers have worked together as equal partners in developing this plan is significant in and of itself. And we're looking forward to the implementation of our recommendations within the near future.
Good evening. I'm here to speak about the individualized professional development. So the teachers develop an IPD growth plan depending on their needs and their site district. Can you hear in the back? No.
I'll start again. Good evening. I'm Pierre Kirby, principal over at Christy McAuliffe, and I'm here to speak about the individualized professional development, which is we refer to as the IPD. Teachers develop an IPD growth plan depending on their needs and the site district needs. Opportunities will include accredited college courses. Thank you.
Jerry, you want to start?
No. Keeping me on my toes here. It's fine. Opportunities include accredited college courses, book studies, outside professional developments, etc. Each certificated teacher will develop an individualized program of professional growth activities. It is the recommendation of the RBEC committee to begin discussion and bargaining with district staff and LEA regarding the individual professional development plan. Projected cost, none.
As we mentioned earlier in the opening statement, access to high-quality professional development is essential to every classroom staff and to student achievement. And if you take a look at the next slide, it basically looks at the types of opportunities that we're looking at branching out in terms of meeting the needs of our students, population, as well as meeting the needs of the individual teachers and certificated staff. It's our recommendation that we begin discussions with district staff and the Lodi Education Association regarding additional methods of professional development that can be accepted to move across the salary schedule, thus providing an incentive for teachers to participate in professional development and at the same time be compensated. At this time, the projected cost is unknown.
Dave, you want to wait to the very end before we talk about these individual components?
Please.
How do you want to do this?
If we could wait till the end, that would be
Very
great.
end, okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
I'm going to use this one. So we also looked at teacher evaluation systems, and we felt that it was really important for it to focus on the California teaching standards for the teaching profession, because that also aligns with our professional development and they really go hand in hand. We felt that it should be efficient, consistent, and also meaningful. And we really wanted to highlight teachers for the excellent job that they're doing in the classroom. And in order to do that, we felt that they weren't just satisfactory or unsatisfactory, but that we wanted to add these 5 levels, which also align with TIP, so our new teachers that are coming in as well. So that way we don't have multiple things going on. It is our recommendation as the RBEC committee that we begin discussion and bargaining with the district staff and LEA regarding the evaluation plan that we are recommending.
Next, we have a recommendation to purchase a platform, a digital platform that would house both the professional development system as well as the evaluation system, therefore allowing the integration of those 2 systems overall in the digital format, so it would be easy for teachers and staff and administrators to be able to see both of those pieces in a digital format so they could be integrated. This does have a projected cost that you see on the screen.
Just a few minutes ago, you heard Mr. Neely talk about innovation, and the RBET MOU carries a lot of that. These teacher career pathways, in our last board presentation, we mentioned those to you and we started defining those. Those are the teacher specialist, the model teacher, and the master teacher. The last time we were speaking with you, we talked about these 14 different areas that are outlined in the MOU. And we decided that there really should be one teacher for each of those areas of specialty, one in North Stockton and one in Lodi. The next slide details the requirements, and we went over those in September, but the slide is repeated again in case you're interested in that. The next slide is some recent work we've done, and that refers to the criteria of how we are going to identify these people. This includes asking them to complete an application. For the teacher specialist, this person would be asked to have a minimum of 5 years of classroom teaching experience, 3 letters of recommendation, satisfactory evaluations, verification of any kind of specialized training, and we're also asking that these candidates submit 5-minute videos demonstrating their expertise with adult learners. And the next slide shows the projected cost, and that would cover our requests for 28 teachers in this category of teacher specialist.
Okay, so next we have the model teacher after our teacher specialist, which is also stated in the MOU. We have the requirements of our model teacher, which is on the slide, which we have discussed before, and it's up there for you to review as well. That hasn't changed. We did add a criteria for the model teacher, so this is what we've worked on recently. It's very similar to the specialist teacher. However, instead of 5 years, you'll notice that it's 7 years in the classroom teaching experience. We also have submission of a lesson, either through video or PowerPoint, and writing a narrative and a personal statement reflecting the reason for applying. So this is the projected cost with 43 teachers and 2 days of professional development. And the last teacher pathway is a master teacher. This explanation was shared with you at the study session, as well as the next slide, the requirements for the master teacher. We did develop the criteria for the master teacher, which is they must have a minimum of 9 years classroom experience, some type of verification that they support current research-based strategies, and they must submit a video of a current lesson. The projected cost is on the next slide. There's one teacher at each site with 20 or more teachers, in addition to five teachers at sites where there's not 20 or more teachers, so they're combined for those 5 teachers, and that's 41 total teachers projected cost. So our recommendation is to accept the teacher pathway requirements and criteria, and the implementation of a new administrative position to oversee and review effective completion of requirements, and recommend continuation of the program for all levels of the teachers.
The next slide is the fiscal impact. We know that there will be fiscal impact because it's always been the intent of our bet that all of these positions are in addition to our current coaching positions, so that we would have to find unencumbered money somewhere to be able to fund that. As you look up at the cost, you see that it does increase yearly, and the reason that we see an increase yearly is, heading to the next slide, which is our recommendation is to move slowly. What we would like to do is to phase in the teacher pathways. This allows us time to interview the teachers, to get a group of teachers that are quality at the very beginning of the program. It also provides a true teacher career pathway. The first year a teacher could be a teacher specialist. The next year when we implement the model teacher, that teacher could move up to model, and the next year to the master, because that's how we see the implementation occurring. And in that way, it really does provide what people have asked for so long, and that is another way for teachers to move up without having to leave the classroom. It also allows us time to evaluate the implementation. How are things going? Is this working? Is it not? And it's easier to do that when you begin to phase in approach. Again, there's not only fiscal resources, but human resources. And we want to make sure that if we do this, we want to do it right. We do want to start. We want to start with those specialists and get them moving right away. But for all of those reasons, we want to make sure we move slowly and thoughtfully as we move forward. And now, Mr. Neely, there's your slide.
Okay. Steve, you have a comment?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Anybody else want to go first?
Yeah, I'll let me go first because you'll. You might take longer than me. One thing you said about evaluating teachers, and you used the word, I think, emerging and innovative, different levels. What's that look like? Do you have a rubric for what that looks like when somebody's innovative or emerging?
We do, and so that was, we actually have a rubric, and then we have indicators. So just as if teachers use rubrics in the classroom and we're looking at writing, we want it to be fair and the equality across the district.
So everybody's the same?
So everyone's the same. So if one administrator went into a classroom and a different administrator went into the classroom, they can use the same rubric and they'd be seeing the same thing.
I'm not surprised, but I wanted to hear it. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Neely.
Thank you, Sam. First of all, I looked at everything that you guys put on the website. All the stuff you submitted. It's fantastic. I tell you what, I looked at that and I'm like, this is the most fantastic start that we could have. This RBET over this last year has done an incredible job. Now, everything that you talk about here, though, has to be negotiated. We all know that. So I'm going to make some comments. Now, I'm not negotiating. I want to make that clear. So please don't send me a cease and desist, because I'm not negotiating. But I do want to talk about it. And also, I want to remind everyone, just because I ask a question doesn't mean I don't agree with somebody. I'm just looking for further information. Okay? I've been yelled at for asking questions before, so I'm a little gun shy on some of this.
Good disclaimers.
Good disclaimers. There you go. Okay, let's talk about the IPD. I was fascinated by your handbook on that. You guys put a lot of thought into that. And to me, it looks, it's pretty complete. I really don't have a lot to add to that. I think it was brilliant the way you added things other than college classes in there, and you assigned values to those as well. I think like a book study. Now, I don't want to see somebody, just my opinion, I don't want to see somebody move a whole step on a book study, but they'd have to do 15, 30. They'd have to do 30 book studies in order to move one step. That's a lot of book studies. Maybe we could, like, say so many of the hours come from this, and so many of the hours come from this. Just a thought. Maybe we could take a look at it. Other than that, oh my gosh, I tell you, I was really impressed with that. Let's go to the evaluation system, the teacher evaluation system. I like the things that you did. I looked at your rubric there. I love the fact that we have 5 instead of 2. That's fantastic. I have a concern about calibration of the evaluations. That is, 2 people watch a performance of somebody teaching, which I consider a performance when I teach as a performance. And they look at it differently. They see it differently. Some people may say, well, that's average, and it may be really good. You got good teachers, but that's average in the middle of the teachers, so you get a middle score. Another person may look at that and say, yeah, but it's a great thing, and they give them the top rate. That happens. What was that program that Charlotte Daniels? We looked at it. It had a calibration component into it. Now, I don't know what the cost of the program was or anything, but it had a calibration component in it. Have you thought about some type of calibration component?
We have a summary evaluation, and then we also have the summary evaluation with the matrix. And on the matrix, there are not only a description of what that level would look like, but there are indicators and examples.
Right.
Something that we currently don't have. So hopefully it would take away some of that subjectivity with that rubric. As always, anything new, there would be training, and with our amazing personnel department, I'm sure there would be a tremendous job with training and having individuals calibrate that, because it is a new tool. But it is a rubric-based tool with not only levels described, but with indicators and examples in the matrix, which is a piece that would be used to complete the evaluation.
Yeah, I did see that. But I guess what my concern is, I hate to use an example like this, but in the military, what we did is we tracked how an officer rated other officers. How many did you rate everybody the highest? Because if you did, it doesn't mean that much. So is there a possibility of monitoring how we rate people? How many averages you gave and how many tops did somebody
Well, I think you bring up a really good point. But if you remember the 4 factors I talked about, timely and honest evaluation is essential for a teacher to improve.
Absolutely.
And I think that one of the things that we have discussed at the committee, how important it is going to be to do training with the administrative staff in order to, number one, because it's difficult to be honest in many cases, but sometimes to think if somebody is going to improve, they have to hear that the areas that they need to improve in. You can't sugarcoat it. It has to be directed. It has to be put in a way that allows them to develop some growth as well. Because, the whole idea behind the RBEC really, to me, is developing a growth mindset for every employee in this district. So the way I look at that is, obviously there's going to need to be a training component that goes along with it in order to be better at the evaluation, because that is one of the key aspects in teacher growth. And the other thing that Mr. Melandro talked about is that the program that is really aligned, and it's going to allow some very specific parameters it's going to provide a structure to be able to give that type of feedback. And I think that's been very beneficial in other school districts as well.
Okay, all right. All right.
Does that make sense to you?
It does. I think it still needs to be monitored, so that we don't end up with somebody, gives everybody the most outstanding rating.
Sure, of course.
Some people can't tell somebody else that they're doing a bad job.
We'll never grow unless we know where our deficits are.
Okay. Another thing that was on there, you guys did a great little graph about professional development and how it ties in to new teachers teachers that had passed all of their evaluations and teachers that needed improvement. And in the area where it needs improvement, you put down that the administrator would work with the teacher to select some items. Would you consider letting a master teacher work with them to do that as well? I'm just throwing out that.
We talked about that a little bit. And when we developed this process, we imagined, and like all of our recommendations on those slides, we know that ultimately it's got to go to bargaining, like you acknowledged too. I think there was a certain amount of discussion about having teachers being evaluated by other teachers and whether the union would go along with that program. So we were wary of that a little bit. I wanted to also address your last comment that with these rubrics for the evaluation system, that would put, we imagined it would put the teachers at ease. A lot of teachers are used to dealing with rubrics, and we understand that norming process of calibrating grading systems with the rubrics.
Right.
And we thought these levels of excellence would be really kind of comforting to the teaching population too, instead of just knowing that we're good enough, to be able to be far more definitive about what kind of quality teaching you're getting in the district is in our best interest too.
And utilizing a digital platform, Mr. Neely, we could do some of the things that you mentioned, to be able to pull up and take a look at the number of teachers that are one area or another area very easily on that platform.
Okay, so you guys are comfortable with the evaluation program that you've chosen?
There was a lot of research that was done on that.
That's what I heard.
There's a lot of heads nodding.
Yeah. All right, good deal. Okay, that's all I've got on that then. Let's talk about the career paths for just a moment. I had actually thought we would see a lot more teacher specialists than anything else. That's kind of the direction that I was thinking that this would go. And I'd ask you to think about that. Also on your criteria, criteria or, yeah, you get 12 teachers that apply to be a teacher specialist for math. How do you select one?
Do you rank them?
Again, that's moving forward with implementation, and we're prepared to share this if indeed there is a direction to move forward. And then our next job, as we've discussed, will be the implementation phase, would be to advertise, come up with questions, and then make those kind of determinations. But we are also aware of the projected cost, and that's why we are making these recommendations and then looking for some direction in terms of where we go so that we can begin the next phase of the process.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that we're looking at phasing this in, because then that gives us time to work with cost, and the longer we have, the more that we can do to make sure that those can be covered, and that your plans can be implemented properly.
But can I just add to that? The teacher specialist is really designed to work with adult learners. And if you take a look at the last aspect there, because you're going to be doing professional development with adult learners. It's not decided to be, the way the description is not to do classroom lessons, but it's to do professional development in adult learners. That will be one of the primary factors in selecting, because not everybody is comfortable in working with adult learners. It's very different than working with students in a classroom as it is opposed to work with adult learners. And that's why we requested the submission of the video.
Right.
Demonstrating professional development with adult learners.
I think we should be flexible with our numbers on this too, in that, we might need a lot more of the number one there, students in poverty. I know we've had, when I was at Creekside, we had a lot of training. Ruby Payne and actually some other one we had, I can't remember right now, but it was incredibly helpful. So we might need more of that. But as long as we're flexible with this as we go forward in implementation, I think this will work. I think you guys have done a tremendous job on it.
I look forward to seeing how the superintendent's going to implement this.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Any other comments? Okay.
Go for it. When I first heard that you were going to try to tackle evaluations, I said, oh boy, because that can be really difficult. In my profession, we didn't really have a good rubric for some of our evaluations, and for others we had it nailed. But it got to the point where it was very difficult when it was a permanent employee, kind of stationary, and they were still doing great work or they weren't. And anything above or below kind of the norm, we had to give examples why. If it was below, we also had to have an improvement plan. So, for a while there, we got everybody going C, 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 just so you didn't have to do extra work. So I was really glad to see that the rubric and the training kind of goes along with that. Because, like Mr. Neely said, your evaluators, if they don't kind of keep it calibrated, it's not as meaningful. So I was really happy to, number one, hear you tackle the evaluations, because I'm real happy with our current form. That's one thing. The other one is you definitely thought about it, and so this is more of a comment that way to go on the evaluations, because they're tough. That's tough to change. I do have a question on professional development. I didn't really kind of see it in there, and it was just something that came to mind. When we're talking about, let's say, courses through an accredited college course, let's say, let's just pick a science subject, let's say biology. Okay. Now, let's say I'm a biology teacher. Well, the last time I took a college level class in biology, it's been a while. So is it okay for me to do something like in genetics? I took a college course in genetics. Well, they had no idea what epigenetics was. It didn't exist. Well, now it does. So in order for me to teach that, can I go to Delta, Stanislaus, Sacramento, and take another biology course as becoming state of the art? Is that allowed?
Yeah, we did not change that piece of what we have in place now, where as long as the teacher gets a course approved because it relates to what they're doing, there's no problem with that. What our attempt was to add other ways to gain that professional development and movement across the salary schedule in addition to the college courses.
Great, okay. So then that would fall into that approval part, what I'm referring to. Okay. Also, I want to agree with Mr. Neely in that I think online stuff is terrific. And I used to have to be recertified in my medical certification every 2 years, and they only allowed so much online. The other of it was coursework and practical application. So I would kind of make sure that we add that a little bit, because I don't want just somebody clicking through slides. The information's there, but it's not like applying what you learn. So that would be the only thing that I didn't see on the professional development that I would really like to see. Thank you. Oh, and let me finish. I gotta tell you, this is comprehensive, it's thorough, it's innovative, and I am absolutely impressed with the work that the RBED is doing. And that's for everybody. This is great. I love it.
Any other comments from the board?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank the committee. I've heard you before, not the same people, new people, same thing, going better and better, we're getting better. I'm very impressed with and I don't want to be redundant because I know Mr. Heberty covered some of it. The most difficult task that you probably had was evaluation process. Evaluation has been, it's ancient. You know, every year you follow the same thing. All right, you get to this and that and the other. But here you had a unanimous agreement upon the following evaluation platform and forms that you guys have, plus the fact that your evaluation system is focused on California standards for the teaching profession and promotion of professional growth, and set individual goals related to a profession. I like those performance matter, talent ed, all the goals that you have on your evaluation process, and all of you agreed to that. That kind of thrills me because I happen to look at my old evaluation, very poor. I knew the vice principal. I said, commendable. Well, that's not good. I needed somebody to tell me that I'm really not doing well, or I need to improve on this, need to improve on that, class management, all those kinds of things. But this does go in depth to what we want to get from all those teachers. I appreciate that very much. Committee, continue on, and good work. Thank you.
Anything else? Go ahead. Mr. Porter.
First of all, am I doing this right? It's all first time. This is outstanding work. Couple questions though. You were given this, am I correct? This is what you were given to work with. As far as
yes, we were given the
parameters. The parameters. So when you came up with your 3 different levels, those were 3 different levels that were agreed upon in the MOU. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, can I ask you, Mr. Londo, an honest question? Is there any school district in California doing something like this?
Yes, there are several, and I know Christy has had lots of conversations with San Bernardino where they have this in place, and it is very effective at that school district. I know she's had multiple conversations specifically with that district.
And they have all 3 levels that we're talking about right here?
I believe they're focused more on the level like we have, which is the teacher specialist.
They only have the demonstration teachers, and they call them all the same, and they're paid the exact same amount. So there is not a tiered system, there is not a leveled system.
Okay.
Every teacher is equal.
And thank you. Thank you for that. So, being direct with you, if you had a choice after all this research and this beautiful work done, because it's in depth and it's awesome, are there things that you would do differently if you didn't have the parameters that were presented to you? And be honest with me.
Well, Mr. Porter, I'm nothing if not honest. I think given those parameters and starting with that, what we did was take that and then we made that our own. There were things that where we could go into specifics, but I don't know that we would have changed much. The key, I believe, is providing a tiered system. We have a lot of teachers who would like to move forward to do other things in leadership, but there's really not a place for that unless you leave your classroom. So the idea of being able to move through that pathway and still be in your classroom, I think was something that was attractive to all of us, to provide that system and that ability for teachers to be able to do that. So it's not the only way to have a leadership role is to leave the classroom and become an administrator. And that's why we like the pathway system, because it provides that opportunity for our teachers.
Okay. That really didn't answer my question.
Can I jump in for a second to that? Okay. We did have this honest conversation as a committee, and we also talked about what our recommendation, because we felt like we needed to be honest with what we recommended, even if it wasn't in the MOU. So if we felt that, we talked about it, we voted on it, we said the positives, the negatives to both, if we just had just a model teacher, for example, and we didn't have a specialist model master. And it was almost unanimous that we all voted that we liked the tier system. And after we talked about it, we kind of went back and forth, and there was a lot of discussion about it.
Now, anybody can answer this, are all schools affected by this, or will it just be some? All schools will have the same number of individuals, same level, so to speak?
The MOU states that, I believe if it was 20 or more teachers, then one teacher would be placed there, model and master? Am I correct? Just master.
Okay.
So there is a formula that we have.
And in some ways, we have tweaked the MOU. The MOU allows for a little bit of flexibility, and in the teacher specialist numbers especially, we added the delineation for one in North Stockton and one in Lodi for each of those 14 areas of specialty. So we have felt that there's a certain amount of freedom within that MOU to kind of further define. I don't think we felt restricted by it.
Jen, can I add also?
Would you come up to
Sure.
the front if you're going to speak?
No chair, I don't want chair.
And identify yourself, please.
Christy Ardondo, Arbet also. I think one of the concerns that we truly had from the MOU was a teacher was going to be stationed at a site, and that teacher would not be allowed to go to other areas outside of a region. My personal belief, and I think most, there should be no haves and have-nots. If there is someone, a teacher that is qualified, they should be able to access every teacher, every classroom, and every student in this district, not just a region. And then the case, if there is teachers that applied from not a specific region, then they wouldn't be serviced. So it should be, these teachers should be able to access every single student, teacher, and classroom.
Okay, now you talk to the individuals in San Bernardino, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, I'm a big believer in analytics from coaching and teaching. I think is the vaguest area in the world. How am I successful in the classroom? I just finished at 3 o'clock today. Basically what I'm trying to drive at here is where are your statistics on this telling me that this is going to be successful?
San Bernardino has this is their 3rd or 4th year, and they have complete data.
Data saying what?
The benefits of what these teachers, the demos, what their teachers, the demonstration teachers, are still in the classroom. They did not leave the classroom. They're just not tiered.
Is that a goal, though? How did that? My point is in this: we're here to service the students, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did the students improve in their education overall? Did their test scores go up?
I would certainly hope so. I don't know.
We don't know.
I mean, I would certainly hope so.
Well, I mean, obviously, we're after better teachers would lead to better students, better scores, and so forth, better education overall. My point is there anything driving this that is statistically proven? Well, I did have a long conversation with Fresno Unified, and I think your original question was is there anything like the specialist, the model, and the master? I don't think we were aware of that. There are many school districts that use some variation of that. But the two important pieces that I think we really need to look at, in addition to that, are the individual professional development and the evaluation piece. And Fresno Unified has been using the talent ed and the evaluation piece. And I took some pretty extensive notes with the director there that is working with that. And it was her overall opinion is that the teachers had more meaningful goals because they were more specific. One of the problems that we have is that we're not specific in our goals. They're not meaningful in terms, and I know you've taught for a number of years, as have I. We're not meaningful. The evaluation process does not necessarily improve us. We improve because we want to improve, but there isn't necessarily an incentive to improve. So the idea behind it, one of the things I liked about the system, and they use Talent Ed in Fresno, is that the teachers could put any piece of evidence that they have. Because teachers are doing many things, and an administrator is not going to get a sense of what's going on a one-day snapshot or so forth in terms of coming in. So the teacher was able to apply letters that they sent home to parents in their portfolio, any communications that they had. Say their goal was working with students and families. Their goal would be being able to present evidence that benefited, that provided that, and then the administrator could work with the teacher as to whether that was valid in terms of their evaluation. So it really allowed the teachers to have a lot more input into their own evaluation, and I think that was really important, because we all develop things in our classrooms that we think may or may not work, but we do it by trial and error. But to be able to present that as evidence and give that, whoever's the evaluator, is more information rather than that one day they come in the classroom. Because we all know what it's like. Somebody has a reputation of being a good teacher, they may be evaluated differently than somebody that has a reputation that's in trouble. But I know, like I said before, you have to have timely, and it's got to be honest evaluation, good and bad, in order to get better. So I was very impressed with Fresno. I thought that they were very, and that's a school district that's 3 times the size of us, with many, many urban problems that come along with working with majority population of students in poverty. And you know, as we know, in the Central Valley, recruiting and retaining teachers is huge. In our town, in towns like Stockton, in towns like Fresno, it's difficult. Bakersfield, it's really difficult to get teachers to come to the Central Valley unless they reside here. So the impression I got was that it benefited all the teachers because it provided more specific information. So they specifically use the talent ed.
I have to applaud all of you because I do like the PD in there. I do like the reflection that you're providing. I'm a little concerned about so many different layers though. That's just my personal. But I must say, given what you were given and how you took off with it as a group, it's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it in Lodi Unified. Your quality of work, both with administrators and teachers together, the collaboration, you should be applauded. It was outstanding. I think what you were given and how you used it and worked with it, unbelievable. Everybody deserves a pat on the back, both teachers and administrators. I'm very impressed. I have some concerns, of course. And I've talked to other teachers who are probably not as informed at the lunchroom. But I must say, in looking at the collegiality that you guys exhibit, I'm very impressed. I like to see the passion, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
Mr. President,
yes.
members of the board, I just want to remind board members that I think we mentioned this previously. The original concept and constructs for this was taken from an agreement out of San Jose Unified with their teachers union, and also based on a presentation done at a CSBA conference by San Luis Coastal Unified. So those were 2 districts who were doing something very similar, and so that's where the concept originally came from.
Thank you, Dr. Washer. Any other comments? All I can say is, good job. Thank you. And at this, that's it.
We're dismissed.
Yeah, you're dismissed. At this time, though, I would. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, is there a public comment? You're not dismissed. I forgot about those guys. Sorry.
Public comments, right?
Public comment.
All right, my name is Lori Soez, Ansel Adams third grade teacher. Arvit's worked incredibly hard, and I really am impressed with the PD system and the eval system. But I do have some really, and I don't think it's them, I think really it's the MOU, the tiered system. To me as a teacher, it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't look like we can get some real quality mentor teachers in there the way this is tiered. And Randy brought up San Bernardino. Well, the person that's in charge of that program is a friend of mine. We worked together on national board stuff during the summer. She's been waiting for an invitation for Lodi to come and present. Their program is highly successful. Department of Ed is using their videos. But they don't have a tiered system, and what that allows them to do, I was just looking at their website, they have an orchestra demonstration teacher. Well, that doesn't fit into our 14 categories. They have a, let's see, this one here is manufacturing academy instructor. So what they're able to do by not having the tiered system is to choose a demonstration teacher who's teaching something that, and they have a sign up, like every Thursday they have guests come in and they do a demonstration lesson or something similar. So my concern is that we have one teacher at a site with 20 teachers. Well, first of all, what's your specialty? Is it, teaching kids with poverty? All right, so you're a kindergarten teacher. I'm a sixth grade teacher and I'm coming to watch you teach kids of poverty, so it just seems really disconnected. And if we did something a little more streamlined or maybe did some more research, and I understand that that's not real close to the MOU, but it all has to be brought in anyways. And so why not make the recommendation that the MOU be changed in that area so that we could more tailor some of our mentor teachers so that we could see specific people. So, well, an example would be Colleen. Colleen Guidi, she's an amazing kindergarten teacher. If you want to see early literacy, go to her classroom. Well, maybe her school has somebody else because that didn't fit the category of those 14 things that they were looking for. So, and another thing that San Bernardino did that wasn't brought up, so you're a demonstration teacher, you're in the classroom, you might have guests, once a week, every other week, whatever it might be. There's a lot of feedback, but you also have to put in the extra hours similar to what this lists, but those hours can be a variety of tasks. So many demonstration teachers mentor their tip providers. Others do district PDs. Others do, there's like 3 sheets of, here's some possibilities to serve these hours for the district. And what that also does is cover a lot of areas. So you're not pigeonholed into something. So, and I just felt like I needed to speak to that because she's somebody I know, and we talk shop all the time over the summer while we're working together. So I would like to see the tiered system maybe considered a little more carefully, whether it's at the bargaining table or whatever. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Good evening, Mr. Knackstead, members of the board. Amy Ramsauer. I have looked this over many times and was involved with the MOU for the conception of it. One of the things that I noticed in this presentation in looking at the stipend pieces, those stipends are tied to a very specific salary cell. When I did the calculations, the numbers that I came up with were different than the numbers in the presentation, so I'm a little concerned that we don't put out information that may not be correct, especially when people are going to be applying for these positions. So we probably need to look at that a little further. I also agree that when we're looking at demonstration teachers or I guess it would be teacher specialists under this model, that we are very limited in those 14 categories. And when you're talking only 28, we have 1,500 teachers in this district. So that's an area, I know Lori just addressed that as well, that we may be limiting ourselves in what we're able to provide our teachers to see. If our idea behind this is that our teachers can go out into classrooms and watch an expert, so to speak, are we providing as many possible opportunities for the teachers in our district to do that? And it's just as was stated before, if I teach kindergarten, but the person who's working with ELD students is a 7th grade teacher or a 6th grade teacher, what is that going to help me? It's not going to help me much to go watch someone who teaches 6th grade deliver an ELD lesson, even though they may be a specialist. I need to see somebody who's doing at my grade level, working with students similar to mine in order to benefit me. So I think that that's something that we need to look really closely at. I know there are restrictions in the MOU. But frankly, that MOU has been extremely vague since the very beginning. And there was concern surrounding that from the beginning, was that we didn't have solid numbers or solid facts in that. So this committee has done an amazing job at fleshing that out despite the fact that it was vague in the MOU. So they do deserve to be commended highly for the work that they've done. But I also caution that we think about it very carefully as we move forward. And we also need to look at the number of teachers that are going to be applying for these positions and how that process will work. That needs to be very clear and very careful. I think they've done a very good job of that, but again, I guess that's something we'll work on at the negotiations table. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Connect, members of the board, very quickly, the numbers that were in the presentation, we worked with Mr. Khan's office and Ms. Mary Diaz. So those were the numbers that we used, and they do include the 3.7%. So that's where those numbers came from, just so we worked with them to try and come up with. So I'm not sure where the difference is, but just wanted to make sure you were aware that we attempted to do our due diligence in working together to get those.
I may add that the numbers were calculated on a total cost basis, not just
Okay.
commission.
Mr. Connect, yes, comment on Amy's. Amy, I know what you mean. I think the MOU was originally designed to be vague, to be open. We wanted to put the trust in our teachers and our administrators to work through it. We didn't want a mandate coming from the board. We had a concept, an idea, and said, you know what, we'd like our people to look into it. And like I say, I think you guys did a fantastic job. Of course, we're going to have to massage things. You know, I mean, that's just the way it is. But I couldn't ask for anything more. I think you guys did a great job.
Dr. Washer, this is a relatively new concept for us. Is there, and the MOU is basically the rule book. You know, if you go by the rule book, you can't go wrong. But the rule book can be changed. So is there room for tweaking this MOU as we find that we need to make a change?
That would be up to the negotiations process.
Right. So there is a process that we could make a change then, if it's negotiated. And it seems like we need to do that. Yes.
You
Yeah.
go through that process.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. You have comments?
That's funny, you have comments. Yes. You know, as I bring up the original MOU, I'm sorry, President Connect said, members of the board, Dr. Washer, members of the ARBET, my esteemed committee, you know, I think we as a whole have taken ownership of this committee and the work that it's done, and first must acknowledge all of the work. And there was a lot, when I say wrestle, you know, I think there may have been some bear wrestling going on. They wrestled tough issues, and they were hard on topics, and with very little coming to Dr. Washer or myself over, you know, next steps or process. So I think the issue with vagueness, we were optimistic, and we still are optimistic with this being put into place, and we do realize that negotiations has to take place. But amazing that they came up with the things that they came up with in each thing. And I need to Mr. Neely, you pointed out the piece about evaluation, and that we need to monitor administrators and, you know, how many, I'm not looking at the rubric, outstanding that an administrator gets. I'd be cautious on that, because there are some sites that I would tell you there are probably 90% that are going to be outstanding. And you're going to come across others not so high, where that improvement needs to happen. So I would caution that we track that piece of it. I think there are more important pieces like the evidence collection that we can track. I know there was discussion of piloting for some time, and I would look back to the committee as to what final decisions going forward with the evaluation process, what their thoughts are on piloting this first before full implementation. And again, as we look at the cost, we also, as an association, suggests that we are not purchasing a program of $70,000 until we need to use it. The committee was given an outline, and they were creative, they were visionary, they were flexible, and they were tough. I think there have been concerns voiced over the past year while they wrestled this, because if you think about it, this time last year, they took their seats on the committee and had no idea really what they were getting themselves into, which we have to thank them for. But time and time again, we've heard concerns about coaching. And as we look at our district coaches and the jobs and responsibilities that they have, that's a piece. You hear the committee members today and wrestling with the fact of the tiered system. Our newly elected board member and lunchroom discussions, how would that play out? There is still a lot of questions out there, and as we go forward with negotiations and what you heard the team present today and at the study session, we'd remind you that everything, you gave some flexibility on those numbers, and so they went with an adjusted number because of the number of sites. And there were comments from board members about what about the sites that don't have the 20, how are you going to do that? And they came up with that. So that flexibility, as they go forward with implementation, I really trust with the job that they've done so far, that implementation process this next year is going to be just as heady a work for the body to tackle. And we really look forward to numbers being verified by Mr. Khan, and exactly when we're looking at things, what those numbers are to make sure that that's correct. So we're positively excited about this and getting it to the table, and again, we want to thank this collegial experience, this collaborative group that tackled some things that when we said we need change and being reflective, this is it. And so it's good to hear that maybe there's some more negotiations to happen based on what you heard tonight and at the last study session that might be best for our teachers as a whole, because they are not all the same. As Mr. Naga said, sometimes you dip in your teaching and you might need help. But we also need to acknowledge we have a lot of interns out there right now that need assistance. They've never had a program, and as teachers change grade levels, we need to give them that support. So thank you, committee, and we look forward to coming to the table and maybe tweaking some things.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to close public comment at this point, I don't know if that's legal or not, but okay, we're going to close public comment on this. And I'd also would like to move the student comment to this point, and then we'll pick up where we left off so they can go do it.
Are we dismissed?
He wants to know if he's dismissed.
Yes.
But you have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Good job, really good job. I did appreciate it. Who wants to go first? You both have to stay until you're both done though.
Good evening, President Connexted, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. I'm Jonathan Henry, student representative from Tokay High School, and this is the school report. So Student Gov recently approved money for an emotional support program that was proposed by the librarian. This is a program where he wanted to ask our class to purchase stuffed animals for finals in order to help with the stress of studying and I guess the pressure of test taking. So we approved part of what he wanted for 10 stuffed animals to see how the program will work. Tokay Cheer got third in the Lodi Light Parade this year. There's a door decorating contest that Student Gov has put out and it ends this Friday. This is where it's a holiday door decorating contest where the counselor office actually, whole admin has taken very seriously, and all of the school you can see just classroom doors just brightly colored and all different things. We just had our game night last Friday. This was an event where we had Promethean boards with Wii's hooked up to them. We had board games, volleyball courts set up. It's kind of like just a whole bunch of games in the gym where kids can come and interact. And all the event is free, and we hand out prizes every 15 minutes. We have a Spirit Week this week. Monday was Holiday Character Day. Today was Flannel Day. Tomorrow will be Pajama Day. Thursday is Ugly Sweater Day, and Friday is Frosty Friday. So it's a whiteout with a holiday rally. Student Gov is making a video to present the students with the behavioral matrix that the district has asked us to give to every student. So our Student Gov has come up with a form of presenting the students so that they actually will see it and not just toss a piece of paper in the trash. So we're outlining each different behaviors and the consequences of what that will get you. Our football field is still in progress. This Friday there is supposed to be a ribbon cutting ceremony that will open it up for our first soccer game to be played on it, or one of our first. Mr. Porter retired from teaching at Tokay today, and he's now on the board, so I'd like to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Tokay Cheer adopted a family and was able to buy everything on the Christmas list, which ranged from tablets to Nerf guns and everything in between. There's a large panel of 20 college students or more coming to talk during finals in one of our classes. The teacher was here earlier, but she's gone, Ms. Castle. But she has gotten Tokay alumni from Ivy Leagues, UCs, CSUs to come in and present to the classes on the college application process and financial aid. FFA had a food drive through November and donated to 8 families for their Thanksgiving dinner. They had a movie night this Friday night, and they had a great picker in the Lodi Light Parade. Avid is currently doing a toy drive on campus for needy families. Our pillars in the cafeteria are also being painted to add a little bit of vibrance in our cafeteria from the dull white that it is. And our Cyber Sports League is also still doing well. Our JV League is 1-3, and our varsity is still 2-0. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Next.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. My name is Leja Townsell, and here is my student report. As some of you may know, we had the pleasure of having our very own mayor, Michael Tubbs, as a visitor on campus. Our JROTC program, along with our principal, Mr. Dawson, Superintendent Dr. Washer, and members of the board gave him a warm welcome. Our culinary class made him a nice breakfast, and I even had the opportunity to meet him personally and introduce him at our assembly. Our student government class spent the past weeks working on SOAR presentations. These are short video clips showing our students ways to be safe, organized, accountable, and respectful while on the school campus. We went around and gave presentations to every class on campus, making sure as best we could that McNair students start exemplifying these predictive positive behaviors. We recently had our Hogwarts theater dinner and performance. As usual, tickets were sold out and it was a hit. McNair is in the process of exemplifying SOAR, as I mentioned earlier, which is our model for safety, accountability, organization, and responsibility. We do monthly raffles rewarding students who are a prime example of SOAR. We were able to get local businesses such as Costco and Noah's Bagels to donate gift cards and other prizes to reward our students. Speaking of SOAR, our SOAR store just opened back up. Teachers and students can give students a SOAR bill when they see them exemplifying such positive behaviors. That money can be used at our very own student store where students can buy McNair gear. McNair just opened up our very own McThrifty. It's a local thrift store on campus. Students were able to donate clothes, toys, and other objects that other students had the opportunity to buy as gifts for their families and friends for the holidays at a reduced price. With this program, we were able to raise money for student government. Not only is our cheer team collecting socks for the homeless throughout the holiday season, but they are also selling candy cane grams. So are NHS and CSF and other clubs on campus to raise money. With tough finals weeks coming up, Link Crew held their annual Cocoa Cram, which is an after-school activity where students can come, kick back, and study and enjoy a cup of hot cocoa. We are currently in our Winterfest Spirit Week. We have a rally coming up this Friday, which everyone is really excited for. Our Spirit Days are kind of similar to Tokay's. We have Cozy Lumberjack Monday, Merry Movie Tuesday, Ugly Sweater Day, 'Tis Not Your Sport Day, where you wear a uniform of a sport that you don't play. And then Friday, Class Color Day. Our snowball dance is taking place this Saturday at a hall at University of the Pacific. Our girls basketball team actually had a chance to play Tokay, and we won.
All right, I say we won.
It's all about varsity.
Okay. All right, thank you. And if you guys want to leave, you can, but you're more than welcome to stay also. Thanks. Okay. I guess that means bye. All right, we're moving on to consent agenda A. Is there any items that need to be pulled, that the board would like to pull?
Mr. President, I'd like to pull A8.
A8. Okay. Any items the public would like to pull? Yes, no? Okay.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
I don't know if I just wanted to make a comment on A1.
you want to pull it then?
Yes.
Okay. Any other items?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the rest of routine agenda 8.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any other comments? Okay, call for the vote. No students are here, so we're on our own. Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Full agenda item A1, changes to the adopted budget. Yes, what's your concern?
Okay, I have a concern with the Fund 12, which is the Child Development Fund, and the reduction of a vacancy that our program has had.
Could you please state your name?
I'm sorry. My name is Suzanne Ruiz, and I work with the School Readiness and Preschool Program. And I know the last board meeting, we came in and discussed some of our concerns that we had with the program. These are ongoing concerns, and my concern is reducing our vacancies. We have several vacancies within our program that have not been filled, which brings all of the accountability and the monitoring of the program onto the specialists and the staff that are there in the office. We had a clerk 3 staff member who was promoted to an administrator, and her position was never filled. This assistant director position that was filled, the person left the district and her position was not filled. So we keep getting more and more requirements and compliance issues with our program, and if we're not going to have the proper staffing, I think that there should be more discussion before reducing a position.
Any comments? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve item 1.
Second.
Okay, it's moved in second. Any other comments? Call for the vote. Voice vote, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, pulled item A8. Oh, yeah, item carries 7-0.
It's just, yeah, so we can all hear you. On the math instruction policy 6142.92, you don't have to pull it up, I'll kind of just read it to you. Just for clarification on that one, on the second page, instead of policy, it says rule. So I don't know if that's just a typo, it's no big deal, but.
I think you're correct, it's a
Okay.
typo.
And that's not the big issue, I just want to draw to. Right where the italicized words are, second paragraph down, on the math courses, it says they're not required to repeat a course if they're successfully completed. A D is successfully completed.
Correct.
Okay, so the intent of this then is if somebody wants to take a different course that maybe that math was a prerequisite, we can't require them to take it to improve their grade in order to take the other class. Is that the intent of it?
I would believe that the intent is to prevent children from being re-enrolled in classes that they passed with a D and automatically just saying that wasn't passing, so put them back into the class. That's what I think the intent is, to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, what I read it as we're not requiring them to retake it,
Right.
but of course they can retake it.
Correct.
That's it? Okay, very good. And then the other math policy, 6152, again, we don't have to look it up. This is about placement in mathematics courses. This is the same kind of concern that I have. I want to make sure we're being consistent with it. When we had the initial report item on math placement, there was kind of a rubric through the state of California. They want, you know,
Teacher input.
yeah, and all that stuff. So what I didn't want then and I don't want now is the state guidelines, which are guidelines, to supersede our teachers and our counselors and our parents.
Our teachers have input. It's one of the criteria. I mean, it's not from the CDE. This was put into law. This is a law that we have to follow. So we use multiple measures. We use their benchmarks, their assessments, their grades. We use all of that to formulate a score, if you might want to say, and then they are put in classes based on that score. We came and shared, I believe, 2 years ago.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. So if you're asking me to remember exactly.
No, I'm not. I just want to make sure that that component of the teacher and counselor, I think way heavier than what the state wants. But there is a form that.
They can, right.
Okay, so that's not changed, that's still in place.
Not
I'm
changed.
good with that, and with that, I will make a motion to approve, unless there are other questions.
Okay, any other comments? Moved and seconded. Okay, voice vote, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, passed 7-0. All right, moving on to consent agenda B, student discipline cases.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve student discipline cases.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All right. Call for the vote then.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, it's been approved 7-0. Moving on to other action items. Is it possible, there's 3 other action items. I would imagine the board's read this. Can we move all these at one time? Approve all these at once?
No.
No? Can't do that? All right. I'm just trying. All right. Mr. McGregor, action item number 1 regarding the Aspire Charter School petition.
President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer, the Aspire Vincent Shelby Charter School petition is presented for board consideration.
Very nicely done.
That's
Good listening.
That's what I call a report.
Where are you going? You've been trained well.
Any comments from the board?
No questions.
Public? Okay, call for the vote.
Move to approve.
Oh, move to approve, yeah.
Second.
Okay, first and second already. Move, call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
You guys are fast. Yeah, act like you've done this before. Okay, other action item number 2, first interim financial report with Mr. Khan.
Thank you, President Knackstead, members of the board, Dr. Washer. I'm sensing a need to get through these really quickly so we can certainly, we can abridge the presentation. My only concern is that would mean our Director of Budgets, Mr. Clanton, would actually surpass my short presentations on budgetary matters. If the board would like, we will go ahead and forego the presentation. I do have a couple comments, and of course, we'd be happy to answer any questions, but we can get through this very quickly.
I think that's the ideal.
Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Washer, it is my pleasure to present to you the district's first interim report. And Page 2, the total revenues that we anticipate will be $355,594,759, with roughly 80% derived from LCFF sources, 14% state revenues, 6% federal revenues, and then 1% local revenues. Moving on to the expenditures, we anticipate $360,306,252 in expenditures, with roughly 80% that would represent the salary and fringe component, with another 10% in materials and supplies, 9% in services, other services and operating, 1% of capital outlay, and then the final 1% in the transfers out to other funds. Page 4, we anticipate, we project in the current year, an ending fund balance of, and responsible fund balance of $59,296,264. Years 2 and 3, we anticipate modest increases in our the unrestricted general fund ending balance. Page 5, we obviously we must assign the unrestricted fund balance components, which we have there listed: contingency reserve, the district designated economic uncertainties, grade span adjustment reserve, instructional materials reserve, programmatic reserves, safety and security reserve, and finally, down at the state required 3% of reserve for economic uncertainties, for a total of $57 million. As the next slide depicts, our enrollment district-wide is currently slightly under prior year.
I'll add that did show up in CBEDS as well.
And then the next slide reflects our P2 actual P2 ADA over the last 5 years. As we can see, in 14-15 dips a little bit, but then it increases 15-16, 16-17. It eclipses there, and then a slight decrease last year.
Is P2 April?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So the interim summary, STRS and PERS, we anticipate will increase approximately $8.5 million through 2021. The carryover is indicated in expenditures, and that creates a deficit. The 18-19 one-time monies have been received. The special education contingency reserve has been increased by $1 million to $5 million. The compensation settlements, employee compensation settlements for some of our bargaining groups are still pending and not reflected in the 18-19 expenditures. As we have seen, enrollment has decreased slightly, so ADA has been revised. And finally, the governor's proposed budget in January may change our assumptions.
The board may recall that the one-time money was actually reduced by approximately $400,000 for the mob penalty. So I would also like to add, I'd like to thank Mr. Clanton. There was I think a very substantial change to the presentation, the executive summary. If you had an opportunity to read that, it really covers the more salient points of this first interim. In that you would read that our new position, the campus and playground monitors, did increase our expenditure costs by $647,000. Board would also note a deficit of $4.7 million. This is not a structural deficit by any means. This is the spending down of the existing ending fund balances that the board discussed during open session on September 18th at their regular meeting related to the unaudited actuals. So the board should note, though, the CSEA agreement that board recently approved is not included in this number, neither is the LPPA, LUSG, or management's compensation either. This is a positive certification, and superintendent recommends board approval, but we'd be happy to take any questions.
Any board comments?
Quick comment. Read that executive summary. Excellent job on that, guys. It was really good. And thank you. I mean, positive finding is fantastic. So that's all I've got.
The executive summary is very helpful.
I did forget one thing. The Fund 23 was not covered in the executive summary. The rationale for that was mine. We presently have $70 million in that fund. We've got the M&O proposal evaluations next week, and then we have over $100 million worth of RFPs going to market in January. So there really was no way to anticipate how much would be left by June at this point.
I have a couple of things. Going back to your unrestricted ending funding balance reserve assignments, could you explain to me what retain and recruit reserve at $3 million is, and what security and safety reserve at $11 million is?
Retain, recruit, and reserve is staff compensation, and then security and safety and reserve.
I'm sorry, I'm not very smart. What do you mean by staff compensation?
Raises.
Raises. This is reserved for future raises or for next year?
Yeah, next year.
Next year. And the security and safety reserve?
That could be anything from door access controls. We also have failing telephone systems throughout the district. I believe Tokay High School's intercom system.
There's a joke.
So we're projecting some $8 million over a 5 to 7 year period.
Are you using that for like next year projection?
Well, this money will stay for quite a period of time. It won't be spent next year.
Okay, you just mentioned that there are some needs.
Yes.
So that money's not going to be used for those needs?
It will be, just not in a single year, I don't anticipate.
Oh, you're going to spread it out?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Khan, we talked about this last quarter, $355 million in, $360 million going out. That's deficit spending, right?
Technically, yes, Mr. Freitas. I will advise it is not a structural deficit by any means.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the board may recall on September 18th, we had a lengthy discussion over the increasing ending fund balances. Some of the reasoning behind the increase, we had Prop 39, our board set aside money for HVAC replacement that was provided to us last fiscal year. We aren't spending that money because we're getting the Prop 39 money. We do not want to spend district money as long as we have grant money coming in. A good portion of that money were also for textbooks. They are starting, and that money is starting to get spent this year. A good portion of it is. So simplified, modified accrual accounting for school districts and other government agencies. A deficit is produced anytime current expenditures exceed current revenue. What we're spending are those portions of that $64 million in previous year's ending fund balances.
I think that's what I wanted to hear, is that you promised me next year that we wouldn't be deficit spending. Is that still your promise?
Well, with I will say this, with the recent CSEA deal, which I think everybody in the district was pleased with, that will eliminate some of the fallout, approximately $2.5, sometimes $3 million. So it looks a little dicey this year. But
is that a technical term?
It's an accounting term. So there will be fallout but whether or not we actually experience a deficit of sorts this year, I think is probable, more probable than last year.
All right, then it's going to be a very small deficit, and we're going to stop doing this.
We'll blame Mr. Clanton if it's anything larger than that.
Well, thank you and Mr. Clanton for an excellent report. And with that, I would move to approve the first interim financial report.
We have public comments first, I guess.
I just had a question. Actually, regarding this slide and the previous slide, they don't balance. The total ending fund here is 5793, but the previous one says 59 million. How much will we have and where's the extra?
Well, this isn't all ending fund balance. These are just the reserves.
So what's the other? This
This
other
one,
2.5 million.
Yeah, the other represents the restricted side of the total Fund 1, and then the others are the stores, prepaid, it's those.
Things we can't spend.
Yes, things we can't spend.
Oh, okay, so can you go back to the previous slide, number 4? Doesn't that say unrestricted ending fund balance at 59,296? Is it different?
But there are things we can't.
That are
put into a
unrestricted?
fund that- Yeah, we can't spend them.
Because usually when we see these reports, they match. So I was just wondering if there was like something that was different? No? No?
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay, voice vote then?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Moving on to other action.
Mr. President?
Oh, we
Mr.
passed
Khan,
7.
if it's real important that, if you don't mind, if anybody has any questions regarding this and needs further explanation, that you're available.
Always.
As always.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Moving on to other action item 3. And that is Mr. Khan again, right?
Thank you, President Knexted, members of the board. Dr. Washer, the board recalls the 2 days that school did close due to air quality. This is our waiver request to the California Department of Education. There are actually 2 requests in here. One is to offset a material decline. That would be any ADA decline greater than 10% of what is calculated as normal ADA for a particular day. There were 10 school sites that met that test. So the district is requesting reimbursement for that lost ADA. And then 45 of our sites, including the Middle College High School, are requesting an allowance for the 2 days that we did not attend school or hold school in session. I would add, just as an aside, that because of that 2-day loss, we are also at bare knuckle levels on our instructional minutes, but we are still positive with all of our school sites. The instructional minutes is not part of this waiver request. This is just a dollar amount request.
Okay.
Any comments?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any comments from the public this time before I get? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 It's been approved 7-0. And we're down to personnel matters. Mr. McKilligan.
Mr. President, routine personnel matters are presented for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve personnel matters.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any comments? Okay, call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, and now we're down to communications, but before that, I have a communication. This is actually towards Dr. Washer and our 3 superintendents. I would like for you to pass this along. Presenters should be mindful of the length of their presentations. And by all means, use, visuals when they're appropriate, but every one of us have seen the documents. And actually, I'm just echoing what has already been said in the previous meeting, but everyone's seen the documents, and we have done our due diligence, which I'm sure we all have. We've read it. So I would like for those people to give us more of a summary of the topic and give us a jumping off point for discussion, whereas instead of just reading it to us forever. My goal is to have this meetings over by 9:30, and we didn't make it tonight. We had a lot of stuff, but I think that'll be helpful, because you guys are the ones that talk to the presenters. So would you let them know that after a while, honestly, it goes in one ear and out the other. I agree. And so it would be, I think it'd be more efficient for us if you have them give us the shorter version of what they have to say. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We have one last thing, and that's our comments from our representatives, employee groups. You heard what I just said? Okay.
Thank you, President Conexton, members of the board, and Superintendent Washer. Michael, if you could bring up my 108-slide presentation, I would like to. Good evening. So I'm Deborah Ladwig. I'm the president of CSEA here in Lodi. And first of all, I want to congratulate and welcome Ms. McFarland and Mr. Porter to the board. We're going to have a great time, I'm sure. I wanted to thank the board for very quickly reaching agreement with us regarding the 2 new programs that came into effect with the budget last year. There are things that, especially the summer assistance program, that's really going to be helpful, I think, to some of our members, that will be able to save a little bit of money and then get a match, from the state. It's like free money, like a Christmas club. So it's going to be really exciting. I hope that our members will be able to take advantage of it. We realize that it does entail a little bit more work on the point of the district, because you have to keep track of all that money and then give it back at the end. So we do appreciate your willingness to agree to that. We did ratify that agreement last night, so we'll be ready to go. Let's see, I'm trying to think what else. This is just a great time of year. People are in a great mood, holiday spirit. Thank you, Mr. Heverly, for your kind wishes of a great holiday season. And we're ready for, I think, another break. I can't believe that this is the end of Q2. Tomorrow is a minimum day, elementary report cards. This is a big deal. We're getting to the very end, and then it's a new year. So thank you very much for all the work that you've done. Thank you for your willingness to talk to us and work with us. We really appreciate it, and I wish you all a safe and restful end of the year. We'll see you all back next year.
Thank you, Deborah. But I have to tell you, when you're retired, every day is Saturday, so this doesn't.
And someday I will be there. I have faith. Just not tomorrow, okay. Darn it.
Thank you. Michelle or John, come on.
Welcome, new board members, Mr. Courtney Porter. I knew I was going to say it. I was about to say Coach Porter again.
Okay.
And Ms. McFarland, we are excited and welcome you aboard. And so congratulations and welcome, and off and running already today. We'd like to let you know that it is senior time. Our students have left, and so I hope we'll pass on the message so that they can pass on to the campuses. CTA has a variety of student scholarships that are offered to all students whose members belong to CTA for their further educational pursuit. So I will send you the flyer on that, along with all of the career people at the high schools. We'd also like to invite you to save the date for the CTA school board dinner, January 22nd. We look forward to the December site shuffles, and we look forward and hope that there are fewer combo classes going forward next year. as we look at those budgets. We'd also like to suggest kind of a joint effort. So in talking to my colleagues, both Deb and John agree that maybe it might be a good thing for the district to jointly together, maybe we can do something, talk with Dr. Washer about making a difference by maybe collecting change for our fire victims up in the hills. I know at the last board meeting, we talked about the fire victims and what they may need. I know that several of our school sites have individually done some focused drives to help with this immediate future, but maybe as an entire district jointly, we could put something together to make a difference with simple change and get both of our communities involved to help support. So I'm not sure where we are in communicating with that district at the district level. I know with CTA members, they're going through Chico still, but I'd like to see if we can pursue something together on that. And a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday to you all, because it'll be January when we see again. And if at any time, new board members, there are items up for discussion or questions, don't hesitate to call. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Merry Christmas and ditto.
Dr. Washer, I believe I might have skipped your opportunity to.
Thank you, Mr. Knackstead. I do have one quick invitation for you tomorrow. All of the elementary administrators are meeting at 1:30 at Lincoln Tech. They're going to be talking about NGSS. You are invited to attend if you would like to hear about the next generation science standards.
Is there any board advisory committee reports? No? Okay, then I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and voice vote. Your way out.
You too.
Get around the block.